Welcome on into Daggerheart characters. Today we're going to be working on a viewer request coming in from R Workman R3C. And look, I just saw your response to 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 my question that I gave you about what you were anticipating from the Alchemist. Luckily, in part, at least luckily, you did not specify any kinds of domains, and I had already created this at that point in time, so I am glad to report that we're going to be okay with the domains. In terms of exactly what you were expecting otherwise, based on some of the information that you gave me, uh, I'm not. I don't know. I don't know if I'm going to fulfill that fantasy for you or not here. So, I mean, hopefully it does, or hopefully you still like it. Let me know. Let me know if you think I should go back to the workshop on this, just to try to get to your fantasy a little bit more cleanly. I could always try making one more subclass with that in mind and do a little bit of research in that case. So, with that being said, though, guys, we're going to be creating an alchemist. I had a little bit of an extra challenge here because I have already made a mecha class, which I know I don't even. I might have even named one of those alchemists. I don't. No, I didn't. But one of them had a little bit of alchemy flavor. I think that was for that class. So I did have to watch about prevent from stepping on any toes from something else that I've already created because I don't want too much overlap. But sometimes that'll happen. Let's get on into the Alchemist, guys. There's quite a bit here, actually. A couple of features are a little bit more wordy and lengthier. Probably would not fit on trying to create your own cards for this. That'll happen with homebrews sometimes. So, here we go. Alchemists are masterful tinkers who blend science, magic. There's really no blending of magic, and instinct to bottle the impossible. In a world shaped by chaos and conflict, they offer controlled unpredictability, balancing battlefield utility with moments of volatile brilliance. Whether crafting life saving potions or deploying noxious concoctions in the thick of a melee, alchemists shape the tide of battle one brew at a time. And so I landed on the Codex and the Midnight domain for the Alchemist. I feel like Codex kind of is necessary, and part of what at least led me, yeah, really what led me to the Midnight domain is like the rogue uses finesse, kind of has a little bit of tinkeringness to it, and finesse is kind of your tinkering trait. And I figure there's a little mix of knowledge and tinkering that would go on with alchemists. So that was the best flavor in terms of the domains that I could get. And, I think it works nicely with the alchemist anyways, both ways. Might get a little bit darker than you might want to play your character with the Midnight domain, but you don't have to take some of those cards. So, with that said, starting evasion is going to be 11, so some decent evasion, but we are going to go starting hit points is on the lower end here with 5. Could have gone 11-6, but, one of these subclasses is going to get you a little more beefy if you want. Will lend towards playing, fighting more in melee, close kind of combat situations than the other. So, in the case of that one, you do have an option to help beef this up a little bit quicker. Get up to speed in that sense. For the class items, we've got a set of tinkering tools or a set of alchemist supplies. For the hope feature, we've got stable recipe. Spend 3 hope, and yourself or an ally may roll 2 die when consuming one of your basic potions, which we haven't gone through yet. Take the higher result. If the dice lands on the same result, add +1 to the total. So if it's a critical success, you get a +1 to the benefit here. So here is your basic potions. At the end of each long rest, determine whether you will be brewing health or stamina potions until your next long rest. You immediately add whichever decision you made, one minor health potion or one minor stamina potion into your own or an ally's inventory based on the decision that you made. So just kind of making it clear that you don't have to be the one to consume these. You can also, of course, hand these off to allies, and those allies can hand them off to other allies. There's That should intuitively make sense there. After each short rest, you may brew one additional potion of the type chosen during your most recent long rest. So basically, at a long rest, you get a time to kind of pre-make these things. You have a certain amount that you're ready to go with, kind of like a Bloody Mary mix. You just kind of have this mix prepared to go. You just got to finalize it during your short rests to make another potion. Clear any remaining potions when you take a long rest. At 5th level, you brew one health potion or one stamina potion. Those are different from your minor health potions and minor stamina potions. They give you a +1 bonus to the roll. So 1d4 +1, and on a critical roll, +2. And then a critical roll. And at 9th level, you brew one major health potion or one major stamina potion, which is going to be 1d4 +2 for each of those. In terms of, if you're not familiar with the potions, health potion allows you to clear your hit point slots, and a stamina potion allows you to clear your stress. So those are the differences. Very basic, but also very helpful. And that's going to bring us on to the subclass. You've got the classic, just like your potion master, and then you've got the battle brewer. For the Potion Master, you're going to play this if you want to supply your teammates with endless boons through experimental science and chemical abuse. For the Spellcast trait, I have it as Finesse plus Knowledge divided by 2. If you haven't seen, I have used this formula before. It as long as you invest in both of these traits, it scales at the exact same rate as it would scale if it was just one trait. So it's nice that it works out like that, because then that makes it an option. It is a little bit finicky in the sense that it will force you to then invest in both of these traits if you want to get that all the way up to max. So I do offer you the choice if you just want to choose one of them, because I couldn't choose on my own. But this is what it's supposed to be. So this is just more so if your table, your GM doesn't feel comfortable with dividing by 2, that tough math, then you can go that route. I understand not everybody, even dividing odd numbers by 2 can be a little bit tricky. Just in case you aren't aware, any time that things need to be rounded in this game, it always rounds up. That's going to bring us on to our foundation features. And the first one is going to be Potion of Traits. You learn several simple recipes that can give you a little boost to your traits. At the end of a long rest, roll a d6 and receive the coinciding potion. So it is a random potion that you will be getting, and then, of course, that will probably dictate who you give this potion to, or take yourself amongst your allies. But what these do, each of them gives you a +1 bonus to a different trait roll, to your next trait roll, just one trait roll. And then you've got your experimental elixir here. So you're not entirely sure what it'll do, and that's half of the fun. So we're getting a lot of kind of randomness in this build. Some people love that. I'm not actually a super big fan of randomness, but I do think in some of these instances it is fun. It's definitely fun to create. Once per long rest, during a short rest, you brew a mystery potion. When consumed by you or an ally, roll on the table below. Of course, whoever consumes it rolls on this table, and you're going to start out by rolling a d4, and these are going to be your options until you reach 5th level. So, from levels 1 through 4, you will either give the GM 1 fear when you consume this potion. If you roll a 2, you're going to roll a d6 on the Potion of Traits table. The potion's +1 bonus is a penalty of -1 until your next rest instead, and you gain 1 hope. And at level 3, you're going to do the same thing essentially, except, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say level. From levels 1 through 4, you're going to roll a d4, and so you're only going to be potentially getting one of these results. If you roll a 1, the GM's going to gain a fear. If you roll a 2, you roll a 1d6 on this trait table up here, and the potion's +1 bonus is now a -1 penalty until your next rest instead. You gain 1 hope as well. If you roll a 3, you get a 1d6 on the Potion of Traits table. The potion's +1 bonus remains until your next rest instead, and the GM gains a fear as well. So initially, I simplify this. Initially, I had this if you rolled, if you failed with hope, or if you failed with fear. So that's, you can see that in here. If you rolled a 1 was originally if you failed with fear. If you rolled a 2, that was if you failed with success. That's why you're getting 1 hope there. And so that's kind of just pull back the curtain a little bit there. But I thought this would be easier and gives you similar results, and I wasn't going to give you any kind of benefit for a critical success anyways, so it just simplified that process. And if you rolled a 4, so if you got a success with hope, you're going to gain 2 hope and a +1 bonus to your next action roll. For a moment, I was thinking this was not clear, but it is clear. It's just a +1 bonus to your next action roll. You don't have to roll on this table because it's whatever the trait is that's used on that action roll, you're still just going to get a +1 bonus to it. I thought I screwed up for a moment. That's to bring us on to levels 5 through 7. Now you're going to roll a 1d6. So all of these options are now potentially what's going to happen. If you roll a 5, you're immediately going to disappear from where you are and reappear at a point that you can see within very far range. So this could be great for you, or this could backfire, put you in a position that you really didn't want to be in, and that's part of the fun of this. And then if you roll a 6, the next time that an adversary attacks you, roll a d6, add 1 to the result, and add that result to your evasion against the the incoming attack. And then from levels 8, 9, and 10, you're going to roll a d8, and now all of these are options. And if you roll a 7, you can temporarily fly. You roll a 1d4 plus 1 to that result, and you can make a number of actions equal to that result. After resolve your last action roll while in flight, you safely descend to the ground below you. And if you roll an 8, you can choose to either shrink or grow until you choose to drop this form or your next rest happens. If you shrink to half your size, you have a +2 bonus to your agility and a -1 penalty to your proficiency. If you grow to twice your size, you have a +2 bonus to strength and a +1 bonus to your proficiency. These are the same as a shrinking potion and a growth potion in game already. A lot of these things are inspired by previous potions. Some of them aren't. But yeah, these are also potions that exist in the game as well up there. It's going to bring us on to if you decide to specialize in the Alchemist. Instant clarity. Be careful how much you take. Yeah. This is a reference to stuff. At the beginning of each session, place a number of tokens on this card equal to your spellcast trait. Each of those tokens represents a snap powder, once again something that already exists as a consumable item in the game. You may use each token yourself, or you may give them to your allies for their own use. When a player uses snap powder, they mark a stress and they clear a hit point, because that's how snap powder works. So you are kind of a dealer of sorts for you and your allies. And then, I think that's fun. And then you get a mastery feature. Improved potion of traits. Is it mastery features? All right, there we go. Look at that. So far, we got the feature and features correct. Improved potion of traits. You've improved upon the recipes and how quickly you can produce them. The potion traits table now looks like this. And just to specify, this is not supposed to override these when you are referencing this table. However, it does upgrade the potion of traits feature. If it's read differently by someone or ruled differently by a table, it's not a big difference anyways. It actually... Really, I don't think it actually would matter, because those ones both last until your next rest, I think. So, anyways, these are just the major versions. Also, in-game does the same thing that it does in-game. Instead of until your next roll, it's on your next roll, it's until your next rest for these bonuses that are gained. And in addition to that, you can get 2 of them per long rest instead of 1 of them. It's not the biggest bonus, but the part of that is that this experimental elixir is automatically upgrading, and so that's kind of like, your other feature, except you don't even have to specialize or master to get the benefit of that feature. And you're going to see a little bit of that same thing happening with how I worked out with Smoke Grenade and Toxic Weapon here for the Battle Brewer. So you're going to play the Battle Brewer to complement your martial abilities with some fun chemicals, but watch out for the side effects. Spellcast trait is going to work the same way. And here are your foundation features, as I just talked about, your Smoke Grenade. And this one is going to, at each specialization and mastery, it's just going to give a bonus to how the Smoke Grenade works. Improve it, make it better, give it some added benefit. Whereas the Toxic Weapon, you do not need to specialize or master in order to get this benefit, but also just keep that in mind in terms of the power level of these other features that you're getting along the way, because this is also improving along the way. Possibly a little too strong, but I don't think so. I think it kind of works out the same, just based on practically, like, once you're in tier 4 level of play, how often is a +3, +2, +1, bonus to your damage actually going to change how many hit points the enemy has to mark. Even a +8 sometimes might not change that. So that is part of the decision making here once we get to how that scales. Anyways, here's how your smoke grenade works initially. After each long rest, you place a number of tokens on this card equal to your spellcast rate. Each token is going to represent one of your smoke grenades. When an attack is made against you within very close range, you can mark a stress to use a smoke grenade. You can throw the grenade to a spot anywhere within very close range of the adversary who attacked you. There is reasoning for this specific wording of where you place the grenade, because once we start to add other effects to it, that's going to be very important. Currently, it really doesn't matter at this level of play, or while you only have your foundation feature. It temporarily provides cover against all creatures within very close range of the spot that you threw it, once again specifying that you got to place a point in on the map or whatever you're using. And this also... There's another benefit to this, is this is going to also help you to avoid impacting any of your allies and potentially be able to force more adversaries into the range too. So you can get a little bit more specific with where you're placing it than just having it like surround you. When you do this, the attack fails and you can move to anywhere within far range. I'm not specifying that you don't have to make an agility roll. If you do move to far range and you're in an environment where the GM asks for an agility roll, that's not clarified that you would not need to make that agility roll. You are not teleporting there. Once again, this is providing cover for you to get away. I think that's pretty clear with how a smoke grenade would work. And that's going to bring us on to Toxic Weapon. Once per long rest, after a short rest, or after your long rest, you cover your weapons in Toxin. Mostly, this just helps to... whatever weapon you use, it doesn't matter. And if you're using arrows, I didn't want it to be some sort of point of contention that somebody could bring up where it just says your weapon, so you can only, do this to one arrow, and then it just totally nullifies the whole usage of this ability. So there won't have to be any of that kind of conversation. You can cover all of your weapons in the Toxin when you do it. And when you do this, you're going to place 1d4 on this card with the 4 side face up. Each time that you deal damage with your weapon, any of them, add the current value that is on the die face up, and then reduce the die by 1. After you've dealt bonus damage of +1, remove the die until the next time that you cover your weapons in Toxin, which you cannot do until after a long rest. Bada bing, bada boom. At 5th level, your die is going to increase to being a 1d6, and at 8th level, it increases to 1d8. And once again, although +8, +7, +6, +5 in consecutive strikes starts to sound like a lot, I would venture to guess that they're not all going to actually change the outcome of the damage that you dealt. These are the types of things, though, that I will tell you every single time. If something just automatically, you've played the game enough, you just know it's going to be out of balance, or you highly suspect it will, give me a heads up. I have these sheets available for you in terms of these subclasses in the description, always, every video, or at least a vast majority of them, to where you can get access to it, you can print it off, use it for yourself, and anytime that I get feedback that I feel is correct, or I happen to catch something at a later date, I will update that sheet, so that way it of course, it better balances version 1.2s. And that's going to bring us on to the specialization features here. First of all, we are just going to upgrade this smoke grenade. How are we going to do that? Well, we're going to add some additive to it. You've added a mild irritant to your smoke grenades when you use a smoke grenade token. In addition to the other benefits that the grenade provides, all creatures within very close range of the spot that you threw the grenade mark a stress. So see, you could force an ally to mark a stress here. That is why, once again, I have some of that specific wording of where you are throwing it, so you can help to not do that more effectively, and potentially also help you to target more creatures, more adversaries each time that you use one. And then we've got mutagenics. You have created a rare and powerful potion which permanently increases a part of your life force, but it comes at a cost. I think this is a cool cost-benefit thing that you're going to be doing here. So you take a -1 penalty to a trait of your choice, but you get to gain a +1 bonus to your permanent, +1 bonus to your hit points or your stress. And at 8th level, or later if you don't specialize in the Alchemist at or before 8th level, take another -1 penalty to a trait of your choice and gain another +1 bonus to your hit points or stress. I was going to make this a choice. I decided not to. If you are going to specialize at 8th level, you are now going to be taking 2 penalties and getting 2 benefits. Too bad. So sad. But obviously, you know, I don't know. I guess you could say you don't want to take it. And that's going to bring us on to our mastery features. So close. Impaired vision. So once again, upgrading the smoke grenades here. You've upgraded the volatility of the irritant in your smoke grenades. When you use a smoke grenade token, creatures who were forced to mark a stress, so any creatures affected by it, also become temporarily vulnerable. Look at that. That's quite the little benefit there. I have actually changed the mastery, the last mastery feat here since the time of recording. So the new feat reads, as you are seeing on the screen now, Noxious Gas. A faint yellow cloud covers the battlefield. Luckily, you've immunized yourself and allies. Once per session, make a spellcast roll against every adversary within far range. Each target you succeed against is temporarily poisoned. Gain 1 hope for each poisoned target, and place a poison die on them with the 3 side faced up. Each time a poisoned creature takes an action, they are affected per the table below. When the 3 side is facing up and they take an action, face the 2 side up and they mark a stress. When the 2 side is facing up, face the 1 side up and then they take a penalty of -2 to their difficulty. And when the 1 side is facing up, revert the die back to a 3, and they mark a hit point. And to remove the poison condition on an adversary, the GM must mark a fear, clear the poison die. Any effects imposed will remain. Non-living and non-breathing creatures are immune to this effect. They cannot be poisoned, so this is just a long-lasting, negative, building-up kind of effect on these creatures. The longer it lasts, obviously, the more it's just going to be continuing to hurt them. I really like that feature. I think it works a little bit better than the previous one, as cool as that one was, if you took the time to read it, if it was on the screen long enough for that. All right, bye-bye. Back to whatever's left in the video. Yeah, that's the Alchemist, man. I hope you guys enjoyed the video, as always, and if you do, help support the channel. Very simply, all you gotta do, the YouTube things. You know exactly what they are. I'm not even going to say it. You know what to do. It helps the algorithm. It's so much appreciated. And if you want more, you got to do that one thing where you get sometimes even maybe notified of that. You know, when I post videos. That's it. Bye-bye. Have a good one. Au revoir.